been scarred and I've been bruised. I have learned just what to do. I need to leave my past behind me. I need to look to the future. No matter what will come, no matter what I've done, I know just what to do. And that's all because of you.
Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel and my last official video for the year. Slow applause for dedication, for consistency, and for co-traveling very important and very personal journeys in year 2021. We did it, weathered the storm. We were brilliant in some aspects of our lives. We were mediocre in some others. Maybe we failed here and there, but we showed up and we showed up consistently. Thank you so much for walking with me up until this point, and I wish you a heartfelt festive season. I know it's premature, but guys, the weekend is good right up until that point, and I won't be seeing you to wish you well. I wish you a time of reconnection, replenishing, reflection. I wish you're going to be generous when you reflect. It's been a difficult year, and if you get that already compromised from the previous difficult year. So I hope you look back in gratitude, you look back with grace, and you wear a lens of generosity when you reflect on what you've done, what you wish to do, what you couldn't do, and planning ahead with optimism, curiosity, and an open heart when you plan for the year ahead. We're not staying long today. We are dropping in with something very important but very brief, and that is looking at the aspect of self-sabotage. Why do people self-sabotage? Why does it look like people act in ways that are counterintuitive to the things that they say they want to do, to the longings of their heart, and to their general well-being? And there are obvious reasons for sabotage. One of them being, I suppose, the fact that it's hardly ever conscious and intentional. People don't do it intentionally. Generally, humans want what's best for them. They may not know how to get what's best for them and how to walk that road, but generally that's what they want. And therefore, the acts that they engage in between that hinder them are usually not intentional. I think if Ngabo, they'll just close their eyes and they'll arrive at this longed for destination without attributing any personal agency unto themselves out of the fear that they're going to do something wrong. The most common thing, and I suppose most common reason why people sabotage themselves, is very closely linked to vulnerability and refusing to embrace vulnerability. And vulnerability is, I suppose, anything that is emotional exposure that could potentially hurt you, and you can't really predict, control the outcome in a particular way. So that's why it's vulnerable, because its outcomes are not up to you, and people don't like feeling vulnerable. There's something about humans and free will. Modern society has told us that we've got free will, therefore things that happen in your life are your responsibility. So it makes us very scared to shoulder that level of responsibility, because it means you must engage in things and just hope for the best. And a lot of people don't trust if they would survive it, if the best outcomes did not happen, as they had hoped. So to avoid this vulnerability, people will retain control by sabotaging it themselves. So instead of life letting you down or the thing failing, you decide, I'm going to stop at this point, and I don't want to expose myself to what would happen if I had continued, because then that makes me at the mercy of circumstance. And generally, humans don't vibe with being at the mercy of circumstance. They want to insist that they are not at the mercy of circumstance, which actually, even if you deny vulnerability, you don't become less vulnerable. That's the oddest thing about vulnerability. Refusing to acknowledge that you are vulnerable won't make you less vulnerable. Yes, you may perceive yourself not to be vulnerable, but the reality is that there's aspects of life that you can't control, and outcomes of certain things that we do, there's elements of it that are not up to us. A way to redress this, I suppose, would be to perhaps create a vacuum or a setup or a context that enables you to fail comfortably. Because we self-sabotage because we don't want to fail in front of people. We don't want people to view us differently from the view they had of us before. So we try to always keep a consistent view of ourselves and our character, and we try to keep it inconsistent with what people know of us. So when you engage in something brave, when it fails and you personalize the failure, people are likely to believe, then people now think I'm a failure, or I now think that I'm a failure. There's something that makes you sabotage yourself less when the environment is receptive to your failing, when you are surrounded by people that it is okay to fail in front of. And I encourage people to be people that are safe to fail in front of. This helps because, one, failure is always possible. It goes hand in hand with effort. If you're going to try anything, you are vulnerable to failure. There's a possibility that it's going to fail. But when you are safe to fail, when the people around you and spaces around you have made it safe enough for you to fail, you become braver walking the mysterious mile. You know, that mile people sabotage, you become braver to walk it, because even if you did fail, it doesn't injure your character, it doesn't threaten the view you hold of yourself, and it doesn't threaten the view people have of you, because you know their acceptance of you is unconditional. You know, and the quickest way to screen, am I safe or am I not safe, is watch how wide is the discrepancy between what you know and think and between what people know of you. The wider the gap, the less safer you feel. You know, that's the quickest way to screen. Do I feel safe in front of Uzbanban? If you know my authentic self and the self that they know, there is no discrepancy between the two, then you know I relatively feel safe, because it means the walls, you know, that defend us against rejection are down, meaning rejection is not likely. That's how you know me and so are intimate, me and so vibe, me and so there's unconditional acceptance between us, because there isn't this high wall that guards who I am and what they know. It's like the wall is down and we can both see the same thing. That is always the measure of how interpersonally safe you feel with the next person. So guard your spaces. You know you're not safe in front of people when you know that the things you really believe, the things you really think, the ways in which you truly behave, and that which they know are not congruent. Lendo bayaziyo ngawe na leno yiyo manyani don't match. Then you know there's an element of not feeling safe enough for my authentic self to be seen, and therefore you'll never ever want to execute brave things in front of these people, because banale view and self-sabotage comes there in between, where I don't feel safe enough to fail. I don't know what they would think of me if I did fail. I mean, self-sabotage is just a simple way of saying I'm scared. I'm scared. That's what vulnerability is. I'm scared that it's not going to work. And most people don't go as far as answering the question of what if it fails. They just stop at the question and sabotage at the question. What would happen if it failed? There's something brave about answering the question. What would happen if it failed? Then you start seeing that I would be embarrassed. That includes other people. Embarrassed in front of who? Because when you know your personal effort. So when you say I would be embarrassed, when you say I would be humiliated, it means in front of other people. Then it says something about the safety of the audience you do things in front of. Because if you sit all of my clients down when they say, I'm scared if it fails, and you hold their hand in persisting in answering what do you think would happen, you see all of the odds have nothing to do with them. The odds are what would other people think of them. The odds are what if people don't buy it, what if people don't support me, what if people don't believe in my abilities thereafter. Because if you can initiate it, there's something about you that believes in it. But if you stop at the time where its outcome is going to be exposed, it means the problem is the onlooker. I don't feel safe. So this is why when you want to redress your self-sabotaging tendencies, a good place to begin would be to audit your immediate surroundings. How safe do you feel in front of them? Because once you feel safe, then it doesn't matter if it fails. You know, you must learn to separate character from productivity. You must learn to separate character from output, so that you don't personalize izinto now. When you are solid, this is the other thing that causes people to self-sabotage, an insecure identity. When you know who you are, when you know what you are, you don't personalize things that are outside and mix them with the inside. So you're able to say the thing failed, the attempt failed, the product failed, but you don't personalize the failure to thinking I'm a failure. Because people self-sabotage, I suppose, to protect their authentic self, to protect who they are. Because should that thing fail, they're not secure enough in themselves to believe, no, it's the thing that failed. The thing and me are two separate things. I'm secure in who I am. Therefore, I can try as many things because they are independent of me, and whatever happens of them, the core things that matter to me will remain unharmed. But if your identity is fragile and outside threat, the walls of your ego strength are not solid enough to absorb the pain. So once the pain comes, you are in pain. So people self-sabotage to avoid the pain of failure. But people with a secure identity will be disappointed if they fail, but they won't be ashamed. So it's the thing that they're strong enough in their identity for the thing to bounce back, to impact their internal functioning so much that they think there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. So a good investment in secure things and internal functioning to believe I'm whole, I'm full as I am. I'm not fundamentally flawed. My methods of doing certain things may be flawed. My experience in certain, maybe I even suck at it. Maybe I'm not even talented at it. But all of those things are outside. People protect their core. This is why we develop defense mechanisms, to protect our core. But when your core is solid, and when the walls around your identity are solid, things that come and injure, the feedback that comes, because this place is stable, it's deeply rooted, and things that are deeply rooted can survive winds of adversity. It doesn't matter how much it bends to this side of success, to this side of failure. The core things that matter are deeply rooted in the ground. So insecurity is also another reason why people self-sabotage. They don't trust themselves, and they don't want to see what would happen if the feedback was aversive. So by prowling in a fig, almost a cute way of get them before they get you, kill it before it kills you, end it before it ends you kind of narrative. But when you know you cannot be diminished, you are braver in attempting things that happen outside of you. Another reason why people self-sabotage that we should truly audit and look at is the payoff people get from victimhood. The payoff people get from the narrative that I'm not good at this, or I never win at this, or this is not my thing. Look at the track record. Perpetual failure, perpetual hindering of your progress. You must also audit that if the evidence says you're smart, if the evidence says you've got the capacity to do X, Y, Z, what payoff do you get from forever repeating the narrative that no, this is not my thing? And you'll see that people get a payoff because when we believe these are not, you're not good at this thing. I'm not creative, I'm not athletic. You get to be excused from accountability when it comes to that area of your life. So people paint that narrative to be excused from showing up, from being vulnerable, from exposing yourself, from doing things, from taking care of things, because you've decided that thing is beneath my ability, it's beyond my abilities. That thing is not something that I am able to do. And you'll see this with people whose aptitude is very high, and they keep on doing things that are stupid. And then they'll tell you that, no, scholastic things are not my thing. And you're like, that's not what your IQ says. You've never repeated any grade, you relatively did okay at school. Suddenly, smart people are required, and you're stepping back because you know that those things are for smart people. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that smart. And therefore, you must audit that. If the intrinsic character says otherwise, what do they get, from saying, oh, this never succeeds, oh, when I do this, it never passes, and it excuses them from responsibility. You'll see this with certain self-sabotaging personalities, where you must sit and look and be like, they've sold themselves this lie that, oh, I never do this, or no, this never happens to me, oh, I've never finished this, oh no, I've never succeeded at such and such. And as much as that is accurate, you'd see that there's a kick they get from it. It excuses them from trying. Don't try it next time. You're not good at that thing. Don't persist. Don't account, basically. So self-sabotage sometimes is a way of evading responsibility. Another way people self-sabotage, another reason why people self-sabotage is, I suppose, Carl Jung is a psychoanalyst, and he works a lot with unconscious material. And he usually has this quote that says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it's going to direct your life, and you're going to call it fate. And that Jungian principle is very, very true, because some aspects of life are modeled to us way earlier than we have words to describe things. A lot of material and early modeling is not conscious. You don't remember it. It did happen, and you learned something from it and concluded something from it, but you don't have words to detail the memory, because either it happened when you were pre-verbal. So a lot of caregivers that modeled a way of doing things to us is actually how we do things, but we are not aware. The material is not conscious. If you were scolded early on and you decided that thing is not allowed, if you were shamed earlier on and you decided I'm not good at it, most of the time people don't remember at what stage did I decide I'm not creative, or at what stage did I decide I don't have good opinions, or I can't write, or I can't run, or whatever, and will realize that they don't know when they made the conclusion, but it's a conclusion that drives their lives. And most of these things are the unconscious material. The prohibitions: don't do that, it's not your thing. Or no, you're not good at that. Or no, people don't stick around with you, so don't date. Or it doesn't matter, you're not a significant person to relate to, you are invisible, whether you are there, whether you are not there. And people therefore don't want to be seen. They sabotage attempts to be visible and to win and to be extraordinary, because maybe they were treated like but this thing is not there, so they can't challenge it because they don't remember it. It wasn't a conscious conclusion that you're not pretty, you're not talented, you're not important, you're not lovable. But especially take abandonment for instance. People that were left were usually left when they were very, very young. Mom had to go work somewhere else, or they were poor, so they had to ask an aunt to look after you, whatever the circumstance that was legitimate was. But if you were left, a 2-year-old cannot remember what they thought about that. They cannot. But you conclude things. When people leave, do I care? When people leave, do I hurt? Or have I just decided I'm not going to attach because people eventually leave? If a person decided I'm not worth sticking around for, they don't remember that. They just don't expect people to stick around. They don't know where it comes from, that in adult life I don't expect people to stick around. Or people where attachment failed them. People died, people left, people dumped me, or whatever. They don't know why they are not deeply attached to things. They don't know why they sabotage attachment opportunities, because it's not conscious material. So that's another reason why people self-sabotage, that the drives behind the deciding factors of their self-sabotage are not conscious. So abayenzi ngamasbom. And it's only psychotherapy that can fetch unconscious material and make it accessible to consciousness. And once the story is known, only then you can edit the story. Only then you can give yourself a corrective experience and. Another reason is modeling, that their models were engaging in self-sabotaging behavior. And we know that classic saying that kids will not listen to your advice, but they will follow what you do. Kids are good at imitating. So you'll see that most of us actually act like our parents. That even in retrospect, you reflect and be like, I did the exact same thing my parents did, although I didn't do it intentionally. So sometimes people self-sabotage because they're following a script. And scripts also are hardly conscious that, heck, how did I end up pregnant? I knew everything that I needed to know, but it looks like there's just this subconscious data that put me exactly in the same trap as my parents. And because it's not conscious, I can't fight with it, I can't wrestle with it. So it's important to go audit subconscious material. And I suppose another thing, and that will be my final point, is the absence of evidence that you can succeed. This is why your first attempt at doing something is so important. Have a first win and draw courage from it to have subsequent wins. People self-sabotage because truly they have never seen themselves finish a thing. So this thing that this time it's gonna win, it is just elusive. They've never seen what it looks like when it's about to. They don't know how far they are from the destination. They don't know when they are engaged in a winning formula, because they don't even know what winning looks like. They don't have a prototype to follow. So once you persist just one time, and you collect your win, and from that win, this is why people with a very high self-esteem, it just looks like they keep winning at this life thing, because there's a portfolio of evidence that makes them brave enough to pitch for the odds of winning. They believe they can. Self-efficacy is high. They believe they can because at one point they did it. So this is why you must see one thing through, be relentless and see one thing through. And once you have seen a thing through, you've got some map to follow of what it looks like to see it through. You've got one map of what it looks like. You don't flee when it starts to hurt. You don't flee when it starts to be difficult, because you understand just before the win, there were these moments. So the process starts to feel normal because you have lived the process before. You've lived the process before. So like when you run, I started running, right? Everybody knows this. When you run, but because I've run, let's say 5 kilometers before, I know what it feels like when I'm at 4.5. I know what it feels like when it feels like my knees are going to quit. I know what it feels like when my chest is burning up. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to reach 5 kilometers, because these feelings are known to me, that I've lived this just before the win, and the win was still possible. So next time things really, really hurt, next time my body feels like it's going to tap out, it doesn't make me turn around, which is self-sabotage, that you turn around just before the destination, or you unhook the chances at winning, or you destroy the thing altogether by tapping out of the race, or whatever. You don't flee at the indication that failure may be close by, because it's a process you have lived before. So expose yourself to the process so that you can feel normalized at the process, so that you can repeat the process and ultimately you can win at a thing. And once you win at a thing, it gives you courage to try another thing, and you win at another thing, because we know effort increases probability. The many more times you try, the likelier the possibility of winning at a couple of things. So yes, those are the points to think around that came at the top of my head today. There's plenty more you can go read up. This is literally just a life lesson from my own instinct and observations, but you can go explore this and read up on Carl Jung if you're interested in learning about the shadow side, archetypes, archetypes that we follow, ways of doing things that are not necessarily accessible to consciousness. And most of people are surrendered to this passivity that they think things are fate, but they are not fate. They are repetition of patterns. They are now an archetype in which you view life and engage with reality. They are now your lens in which you observe things, but they are not necessarily fate. And as a result, once they become conscious and you edit it, suddenly the fate has changed. So Jung is brilliant when it comes to teaching that. I love that quote about him so much, that when you follow an unconscious road, you think this is where you are meant to be. You think it's where you are meant to be because you've never seen the alternative, and you don't even know what to fix because the content of the road you are walking are not known to you. So yes, those are the things. The biggest one being embracing vulnerability. Embrace vulnerability. There's something about trial and error that requires faith, that just requires believing things are going to be okay. And you just simply wait it out and be okay with the possibility that it may not work out. And if you're too scared, then make sure you are with people, even if it did fail. What they really believe about you wouldn't change. Even if it won't, they wouldn't love you more. They just love you fully. And you will know these people by how less defensive you are when they're around, by how low the walls of your defenses are around them. Then you know, actually, there's no need for me to sabotage myself. Whatever the outcome is, I wouldn't be loved any less. And once you are, there is a discrepancy that is too wide between what you really think, what you really believe, and what they know, then you know I'm scared of failing at these people. My authentic self is not really welcome in front of them. Therefore, I buy their affection and I wouldn't dare fail in front of them. So I'm going to sabotage this so that I can feel like I chose my odds, instead of my odds leaving me completely at the mercy of misfortune. Pam kwabantu. Alright, I think I'm going to stop there for now, and I'm going to see you guys in the new year. I know you're grumpy about it, but time flies by so fast, and there's other things I need to terminate and do end of year goals so that I can wrap off the year and rest. It's been a monumental year for me, one of the most difficult years in my life by far. So yes, I'm stepping down earlier than what I should because I'm tired, and the break just needs to be longer so I can replenish, plan, and recover and pick a strategy for what we're doing next year. There's a lot that's in the pipeline. So this has been labor and toil this year, and I'm hoping next year is going to be fruition, and we're going to use this YouTube channel to be a lens that documents and shows that to you guys. So yes, give yourself a real chance is the point of this video. Give yourself a proper chance by enabling yourself, by surrounding yourself with an enabling environment, and by exposing yourself to just one win so you can cash in from it to give you courage for other wins. Show up and show up for real. Give yourself a real chance. Don't sabotage yourself, because the more you sabotage yourself, the more you never see what you look like on the other side. And you deserve to be seen. You're worthy of being seen, and you can do it. You just need to believe it for yourself. Bye guys, thank you for being my family for this year again, and I will see you next year. Hopefully, I can't commit just yet to a month and a date, but I can commit to a return, no matter how brief. Love you, thank you, I appreciate you. Bye.